Good evening and hello world. My name is Maya Sundermeyer and I would like to welcome you to the latest episode of my blog series. So far, I have been able to share my own experiences with the world on what it's like for me to live with Asperger's syndrome. A second area that I like to do is give my 2 cents on what's going on with autism in the media. A third area would be giving tips and advice to individuals on the spectrum and to their friends and their families and their peers and their mentors, and to anybody that's in the autism community, such as a teacher or an employer. And I also do interviews now, and finally covering topics that I'm passionate about. And before I dive into this evening's blog, what I would like to do is give you guys a few great autism resources right here on YouTube. And actually, the other one will be in my commentary. So the first one is is by another self-advocate who has his own website, and the name of that website is improveyoursocialskills.com. And in fact, you can find our video interview in my blogs, which I did a few weeks ago. So be sure to check out Daniel Wendler. A second video that I would recommend is a keynote by Temple Grandin's mother, and she goes by the name of Eustacia Cutler, and she not only talks about the timeline, but she also gives the story from her point of view, which I thought was really interesting. And finally, I would recommend a blog by Jennifer O'Toole, and the name of the blog is called Talking to Yourself, and the title of her blog is called Speaking Geek in Asperkids, and that's all about learning how to deal with bullying and determining whether the problem is on you or on them. So be sure to check those out. Now, what I would like to do is talk about my experiences of something that I recently learned, and I haven't really done it since, but I really think it's going to be beneficial for me because I have Asperger's syndrome, and because I see the world differently, and because sometimes I feel differently than everybody else. And the reason why I figured that out is because, we had that sensory room in the Matthew Reardon Autism Conference a couple of weeks ago. I had discovered something that I think is going to change my life. So basically, I had gone and was laying on a crash pad, and I had them put on 3 weighted blankets on me. Now, a weighted blanket is something that's heavier than a regular blanket, or something that you normally sleep with anyway. And basically what it does is you can either wrap yourself in the blanket, or you can either cover yourself in the blanket, and I chose to cover myself with it. And the weighted blankets are for individuals that have extreme sensory overload or sensory processing. And what that means is that these are individuals who do not like to be hugged or do not like to be touched. Now, I don't mind hugs. I don't mind being touched, but there's times and places where I just cannot handle stress, and I have a very, very low tolerance for things. So when I was at the autism conference, I decided to test out the blankets, and I decided to lay on the crash pad and look around the room and pay attention to all the wonderful bubbles in the machines and all of the beautiful pictures on the wall and the relaxing music that they had to offer. And finally, just basically laying in the weighted blankets in general. And what I ended up coming up with was an idea that I can work full-time, but my accommodations would include having a special room at work where I would go maybe once a day to lay down on the crash pad and put on a weighted blanket for maybe a half an hour, and maybe 3 weighted blankets, or wrap myself in the weighted blankets, because it seems to calm me down, and it seemed to help me think better, and it seemed to help me make more sense of things. So I'm almost out of time. For those of you that are watching my channel, be sure to comment. And for those of you who are new, be sure to subscribe and share on YouTube and Twitter and with your autism support groups and with your classes and anywhere. Until next time, I'm Maya Sundermeyer.